Governor Doug Ducey and state lawmakers have proposed a 2.5% flat income tax in this state that could cut state revenues by $1.5 billion. That's the rub. The state House and Senate are working toward a vote on a final budget agreement in the coming days. Governor Ducey's Chief of Staff, Daniel Scarpinato, joins us now to talk about this. Daniel, good to see you.
Hey, John, it's great to see you.
Okay, Daniel, flat tax. This is right out of the Steve Forbes playbook, circa 2000. What's the story here? Who benefits, who loses?
Well, the governor believes Arizonans benefit, and particularly working families and our small businesses. If we don't act, small businesses will be facing a 77.7% tax increase. And also, the state is flush with resources right now. Our economy is booming. If we don't do anything, the state's going to have a $4 billion surplus over the next 3 years. That's a third of our entire state budget. Let's give some of that money back to the hardworking taxpayers.
Let's start with the part about the 75% tax increase. That is assuming that Prop 208 is approved by the Arizona State Supreme Court, because they're litigating it. They're looking at it right now on whether that's an up or down. Voters passed it, but that is a onerous tax on people who make over about $500,000. I mean, it raises their taxes about 75%. That goes for a lot of small businesses too. That's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, that would really hit a lot of our small businesses, and small businesses are the lifeblood of Arizona's economy. Over 99% of businesses in Arizona are small businesses. There's a lot of uncertainty around that. And what's great about this plan is it really protects what voters voted on. They were told by the proponents of Prop 208 that there would be no impact on small businesses, and they also wanted additional money for K-12. This allows us to protect small businesses, make sure that they don't see that steep increase in their taxes, and also make sure the dollars continue to flow to K-12 education. It's all protected in here, in addition to additional investments. And John, on top of that, K-12 education has received $4 billion in federal dollars over the last year, which is almost $4,000 per student over and above what the state's investing. So we feel really good about the continued investments in K-12, but we also know with that uncertainty, we want to make sure that those small businesses, know what's coming, know what to plan for. And a lot of these small businesses, John, have been really hard hit over the past year with COVID. Small businesses like restaurants and barber shops, you know what people have been through.
Yeah. Let's back up for a second. Philosophically, for the governor, despite the broadsides from Donald Trump that you're well aware of, he is a very conservative guy, fiscally conservative. So is this his way to shrink government? In other words, to starve government a little bit and say you don't want to just have government endlessly collecting money, because government gets bigger and bigger by extension?
Well, yeah, but the way I would put it, John, is the governor ran twice and was elected twice, and by a larger margin the second time, on a pledge to drive down our income tax. He was very clear about that. And yeah, he also talked about reducing the size of government, and we have less state employees today than when the governor came into office, despite record population growth. We want smart government. We want government that serves the people well and responsibly, but that doesn't mean big government. So let's make sure that we're making those investments that people care about, like K-12 education, higher education, infrastructure, those elements, the social safety net. But where we have additional dollars over and above that, there's no reason why we would want to keep that sitting in government coffers rather than getting it back to the people who have earned that money. And unfortunately, yeah, there's some out there that want to just keep increasing taxes so that they can get more spending in the budget.
Now, when we talk about doing this flat tax, you've got about 9 other states, mostly East, Rust Belt and Eastern Seaboard, that have a flat tax. It's been done before. 33 states, including Arizona, have graduated income tax rates. 7 states have no state income tax. We are competing, in reality, against the Texas of the world, right? So this is a way to get the income tax rate, more competitive to attract business. Is that part of the equation?
100%. Look, the reason that we're even in this position where we have the opportunity to do this is because of the growth that we're seeing in our economy, the jobs, the record population growth.
But Daniel, what if it goes the other way? I mean, you kind of back yourself into a corner, don't you, with a flat income tax? It's great now while we're flush with cash, but what if we hit speed bumps in the road? They're talking about $1.5 billion, $1.5 billion shortfall that this would create on the revenue side.
Well, John, I would say, what if we don't act? All this does is keeps us in line with Colorado, not to mention the other states you named that we're competing with, like Texas and Nevada and Utah. These are places that we need to be attracting people and jobs from. If we don't pass this, we're in a dynamic atmosphere. We got to keep Arizona competitive, but we have structured this in a very responsible way. You remember the early 2000s where spending was through the roof. We had double digits, sometimes 20% increases in spending. We're not doing that. We're below the 30-year average. We're being very conservative with our revenue estimates. But you know as well as I do what will happen. If we don't return money to the taxpayers, it's going to get spent.
Well, that is kind of the government way. There's no question about that. Could you even do this had a couple of years ago you guys not gotten this tax on e-commerce? For a long time, you had brick and mortars in town paying the freight, but the e-commerce companies weren't paying anything. That's all changed. That's been a windfall for the state, right?
Oh, absolutely. That has been a windfall far exceeding any expectations or calculations. We also have tribal gaming, which we just renegotiated that compact to include sports betting.
Right.
What we've done is we've really broadened the base where we have a lot more revenue streams coming in at all levels, local all the way up to the state. And so, yeah, this is structured in a way that's very different than what some other states have done, where they just did everything across the board. We're seeing additional revenue streams come in, which allows us to do this and like I said, remain competitive. We've in order to see this continued economic growth, we have to make sure that we're continuing to update and be competitive with other states because they're doing the same thing.
Daniel,
they're looking at ways to be more competitive with us.
The people fighting this, one of the big groups fighting it are cities who get revenue from the state because they can't tax income. Cities can't do that. They get 15% of the state income tax receipts. They are saying they will be absolutely leveled. Phoenix talked about it would cut their revenue from the state by a third, and they're saying it would lead to massive cuts in what they can deliver to their citizens. How do you guys respond to that?
That it's ridiculous. Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the country and the fastest growing county in the country and one of the fastest growing states in the country. There's record revenue that's coming in. Their budget will be larger next year than this year and larger the year after and the year after that. The economist that was hired by the lobbying organization on behalf of Phoenix and the other big cities actually said if we don't act, if we don't do this, cities will lose out on $2.4 billion over the next several years. So, we really want to make sure we're working with our mayors, with our smaller communities to make sure that they're being protected in all of this. But in terms of our big cities, I mean, John, the governor really made a point of ensuring that we took a light touch during COVID-19. A lot of these big cities wanted to shut down all of their small businesses and put people out of work. And despite their best efforts, we've got a booming, growing economy. Yeah, and the governor wants to keep that going.
It's curious how it happened. This turned out to be a boom revenue year, and you would have never thought it. Let me ask you, There's also this argument that the top 20% would see 91% of the reduction in income taxes. Now, I guess the dirty little secret there is that 20%, the top 20%, pay the lion's share of all the income tax in the state. So it's not surprising that they would get the benefit. But for people who say this hurts, that it's regressive, that it hurts the poor, it's going to hurt the middle class, what's your take?
Our take, Governor Ducey's take, is that you got to look at the whole package. Just in terms of the income tax reductions, for the average Arizona taxpayer, it's a 13% reduction in what they pay. That's $350 back in their pocket every year. And that doesn't count the other things that are part of the tax package, like increasing unemployment insurance, like additional dollars for affordable housing, making sure that our veterans, it's Memorial Day weekend, our veterans who have served our country honorably get to keep their income and not be taxed on their pension. All of these are things that make this a package, a child tax credit. These are things that really round this out and make sure that it is focused on working families and on small businesses and on people who are doing the work. Government has record revenue. If you are a barber or a waiter or waitress, I can guarantee you, those folks do not have record revenue after the year that we've been through. Let's let them keep more of the money that they earn.
Okay, Daniel Scarpinato, appreciate it, the governor's chief of staff, and you should all know, you probably used to read his stuff in the Arizona Republic. He was once part of the media, whatever that means nowadays. Daniel, great to see you, and we'll have you back and give the governor our best, and we'll see you next time. We appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. Good to see you.
Daniel Scarpinato, good to see you. And we want to let you know, if you